Recording in progress.
Ready? Elaine, ready? Good evening. The VTA Board of Directors regular meeting of Thursday, October 2nd is called to order. A few safety reminders. Please identify your nearest exit and please do not block the exit doors. The nearest AED is at the public table at the back. Restrooms are outside the double doors adjacent to the reception area. In the unlikely event we need to evacuate, our assembly area is shown on screen. It's in the plaza outside the building's double doors as shown on the screen. Welcome to members of the public who have joined us tonight. If you'd like to address the board, including at public comment, which will be following our 6:30 start, you are encouraged to complete a blue speaker card at the public information table in the back, which you can then submit to staff before the item is heard. Virtual attendees can comment online with the raise hand function or press *9 if dialing in, and we'll follow our usual practice of in-person commenters first and then Zoom. Elaine, could you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Abekoga, absent. Arenas,
Here.
present. Bozo,
Here.
Burt,
Here.
Candelas,
Here.
Cohen,
Here.
Young,
Here.
present. Foley, present. Jane, absent. Kamei,
Here.
present. McAllister, present. Montano,
Here.
present. Moore, Moore is present. Mulcahy,
Here.
Sell,
Here.
Turner, absent. Weinberg, absent. Vice Chair Mahan, absent. Chairperson Lopez.
Here, thank you, Elaine.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Moving on to 1.2, orders of the day. I just want to note that our revised agenda has item 7.24.x, program services for BSV2. Are there any other changes requested from colleagues or from staff? If not, could I have a motion and a second to approve? Well, we don't need, okay, since we don't have changes. Next, we'll go to item 2, closed session. And as you can see on the screen, we have a few items on our closed session tonight, items 2.1a through 2.1e. And I'd like to check if there are any members of the public in person or online who would like to address the board on these closed session items only.
Yes, Chair. We have one hand raised over Zoom. Roland, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. I'd like to speak to item 2.1D, which is the Chief Executive Performance Evaluation. My concern is that there are no performance objectives that have been set for the general manager. And that in turn makes it very difficult to have a meaningful evaluation of the performance. And if you have set objectives, it would actually be very obvious both to you and to members of the general public that the general manager is not performing according to expectations. In closing, my recommendation moving forward would be to look at the SSCTA personnel committee agendas over the last 10, 15 years and see what the expectations are and implement a similar procedures for the VTA. Thank you.
And there are no more hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. I'll now close public comment. We'll recess to closed session, and we'll be back at approximately 6:30 p.m. Thank you all. And we'll be in the back room, correct? Yes.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
We're now reconvening to open session, and Evelyn Tran, General Counsel, will provide the closed session report for items 2.1A through 2.1C.
Thank you, Chair. The board did not take any reportable actions on those items.
And I want to note for the record that there were not reportable actions taken during closed session for items 2.1D and 2.1E. We're now on to item number 3, awards and commendation. And we do have an action item under this section of our agenda. And for efficiency, I'd like to request that the board take action first on item 3.2, which is to adopt a resolution of commendation for retiring employee Stephen Flynn, Audit Program Manager. Can I have a motion and a second? So moved. Thank you. That was Candelas, and was that Foley with a second? Thank you. All those, well, let's say, I think we'll take public comment first. Do we have anyone in person or on Zoom?
No, Chair, we do not have any hands raised.
Okay. Close public comment. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We will present the resolution, Stephen, after item 3.1, so sit tight. And at this time, I'd like to call on Sonia Morrison, Chief People Officer, who will be introducing our employees and supervisor of the quarter.
Good evening, Board Chair and members. Sonia Morrison, Chief People Officer. And one of my favorite sections of the board meeting. So this evening, I have the great privilege and honor to present the employees and the supervisor of the quarter for the fourth quarter of 2025, if you can believe that. So Chris Baker. So Chris is a Senior Communication Systems Analyst at the River Oaks Division, and he is the Administration Award winner for the fourth quarter. He has been a respected VTA employee since 2016, starting his career as an overhead line worker before transitioning to Senior Communication Systems Analyst in 2019. His nominators describe him as a dedicated and inspiring team member whose contagious energy, strong work ethic, and deep knowledge of VTA procedures make him invaluable. Chris consistently performs at a high level, bringing technical expertise, problem-solving skills, and a collaborative spirit to every project. He actively mentors new peers, shares knowledge generously, and goes above and beyond expectations. A true role model and a leader, Chris's dedication and contributions have a lasting impact across the agency. Congratulations, Chris, VTA's Administration Employee of the fourth quarter. Felipe Zamudio is the electrician in Cerrone Division, and he is the Maintenance Award winner for the fourth quarter. So Felipe has also been with VTA since 2019. His peers and nominators describe him as a vigilant, quick-thinking, and courageous employee whose actions exemplify dedication to public service and safety. On July 29th this year, while working his shift at the Winchester Light Rail Station, he observed a suspicious individual pacing near the VTA property fence. Upon noticing what appeared to be a pipe bomb tied to the fence, he immediately notified station security and OCC, prompting a swift response from law enforcement and the bomb squad. His decisive actions helped protect nearby businesses, schools, and VTA property, demonstrating exceptional awareness and professionalism in a high-stakes situation. Congratulations, Felipe, VTA's maintenance quarter of the fourth quarter. Keisha Carnahan is the purchasing manager at the River Oaks Division, and she is the supervisor award winner for the fourth quarter. Keisha has been a respected VTA employee since 2013, starting her career as a Buyer 2 before transitioning to a Buyer 3 in 2014. She advanced to Senior Contracts Administrator in 2015 and took on her current role in 2023. Keisha's nominators describe her as an exceptional manager and inspiring leader who consistently motivates her team through approachability, thoughtful guidance, and hands-on support. She is known for being organized, solutions-oriented, and always present, whether it's improving workflows, celebrating team birthdays, or offering support both professionally and personally. She fosters a healthy work environment that encourages growth, fairness, and collaboration, and her ability to balance daily responsibilities with major projects, including FTA audits, highlights her dedication and leadership. Respected and admired, she empowers her team to be their best every day. Congratulations, Keisha, VTA's Supervisor of the Quarter for the fourth quarter. We also have Gurjeet Singh, who's a bus operator in the Saroni division, and he's the Operations Award winner for the fourth quarter. He's unable to be with us tonight, but we do want to recognize him and give him a round of applause. And that concludes my presentation.
I'm happy to fill in for our vice chair who is unable to be with us tonight. And it's an honor to read the resolution for Stephen Flynn, who is retiring after 35 years of service. Stephen, please come forward as I read the resolution. Whereas Stephen Flynn began his career in 1990 with the County of Santa Clara and joined VTA in 1995 when it became a special district. At VTA, he made meaningful contributions to several departments and served in increasingly responsible roles. And whereas Stephen Flynn was one of the pillars of institutional memory, a keeper of historical knowledge that has guided his colleagues and superiors. And whereas Stephen Flynn was the steward of VTA's most vital guiding documents, the VTA Administrative Code and Rules of Procedure, to ensure a robust framework that defines VTA's governance, financial rules, and operational integrity. And whereas Stephen Flynn was a tireless champion of improving VTA's governance and transparency, including his work in the advisory committee and board governance enhancement efforts and several audits. And whereas Stephen Flynn was given the responsibility of developing the inaugural VTA Strategic Capital Investment Plan to envision, chart, and prioritize within projected funding constraints the organization's comprehensive long-term capital. And whereas Stephen Flynn will be sorely missed for so many things, not least of which are his calm and cool demeanor, his mentoring of so many staff over the years, his kindness, thoughtfulness, professionalism, and his fondness for Disney and Diet Coke. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Board of Directors does hereby commend and express VTA's sincere appreciation and gratitude to Stephen Flynn for his exemplary VTA service to the citizens of Santa Clara County. Be it further resolved that this resolution is presented with the thanks and best wishes of the VTA, passed and adopted by the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Board of Directors on this second day of October 2025. Congratulations, Stephen.
Thank you. And I'm told that the list of accomplishments was almost too big to fit on that commendation, so staff really had to squeeze it in. Stephen, it's been an honor learning from you on GNA, and you will be missed clearly, as can be shown by the tributes. Thank you, Director Foley, before reading that. We'll now continue with our agenda, move on to item number 4, public comment. This is the portion of the meeting reserved for persons wishing to address the board on an item within the board's jurisdiction, but not on tonight's agenda. The law does not permit board action or extended discussion of an item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. And I think those who have submitted their blue speaker cards, you can find them on the table in the back and submit them to staff. And if speakers online can also raise your virtual hand or press *9. And as I call folks' names, please start to line up in the order your names are read and say within the allotted time that we'll have up on the screen. First, we have Lupe Medrano, then Anjali Sharma Tiwari, and Gabrielle Antolovich.
Okay. Good evening, board members. My name is Ms. Lupe Medrano. I'm a member of the Committee on Transportation, Mobility, and Accessibility, also the ad hoc committee, which has considered the premium fares with specificity to the $16 out-of-service fee, and to remind you that this fee does not benefit the disabled community in any way, shape, or form. It also not only severely impacts us financially, but it also severely limits our independence. If we cannot afford these fares, our independence is virtually non-existent. And we ask you to please put yourselves in our place and consider how would you feel if your independence was definitely gone all of a sudden. And so please consider these recommendations from the ad hoc committee and consider who you're serving and who you're hurting. And as for myself, I not only mourn the loss of my son, but I also mourn the loss of my independence, which I value very greatly. So please do not take our independence away. And thank you for your time and your consideration on this very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anjali?
Hello, everyone. My name is Anjali Sharma Tiwari, and good evening to the VTA Board of Staff and Directors. So as a high schooler in San Jose, I take the VTA bus and trains daily on my commute, but I often find myself walking 20+ minutes to the nearest stop. Today, I'm here to request a partnership for a pilot program, Dynaride. Dynaride is an innovative framework designed to optimize public transit by integrating dynamic routing scheduling with on-demand passenger request systems such as Uber and Lyft, for example. Dynaride demonstrates significant improvements over cost-equivalent fixed-route systems, with a 19% increase in service coverage in low-density scenarios and up to a 35% reduction in average passenger wait times. This research has been accepted to a highly reputable International Journal of Vehicular Electronics and Safety in London, and I've also reached out to the SFMTA in, of course, San Francisco. So this may or may not be the best or appropriate forum for this proposal, but I do greatly appreciate any guidance on the next steps. I also have copies of my proposal and research, and more information can be found on dynaride.com. Thank you for your time. And for the proposal? I have 2 copies.
I see staff will take it, and Anjali, while you're heading back, we'll have a member of VTA staff follow up with you and share information for follow-up.
Thank you so much.
And can take a copy of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gabrielle?
I'm Gabrielle Antolovich, and I'm the board president, CEO of the Billy DeFrank LGBTQ+ Community Center, bringing you cheers to the VTA. It's amazing to me how things work out. Not so long ago, Vice Mayor Pam Foley from San Jose City gave us $10,000, and then and then people from the Racial and Social Equity Office, Zulma Marcial, called and said, "What are you going to do with that money?" And I went, "We are going to do a Wonderful Allies program." And what that meant was, and I will focus in on what we wanted to do with the VTA is do a fabulous We Love Our VTA Allies program. Can I have extended?
Go ahead and,
Yes,
and
thank you.
just wrap up,
So
but
what
try to keep it within the
happened
minute.
is I was conspiring with people in the VTA to do this wonderful We Love Our VTA Allies campaign. And then at Silicon Valley Pride, you come up with the Pride bus and put Billy DeFrank himself on the bus. And Billy DeFrank is our African-American drag queen from the 1970s who is our namesake. And I'm going, boom, that means we can't do a campaign saying we love our VTA allies. That would be, that would be weird. So I've been working with Maya Esparza to conspire to basically give the VTA the Billy DeFrank Fabulous Ally Award. And will you all please come and accept it from the Billy DeFrank Center? We love you for acknowledging Billy DeFrank himself, because that is so rare these days. Everybody, come on. Not just you. Is anybody? Come on. This is a big deal.
Okay. Theodora, can you help them? Mayor Montano, may I have you come in the front, please? All right.
And
There you go. I'll just go a little bit farther back. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was a new one for me, Gabrielle. Thank you, with deep appreciation. Thank you, the incredible work that the center does in your leadership. We have an online speaker. Let's go to that.
Yes, Chair. Jordan Maldo, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Thank you, Jordan Moldow, San Jose. As elected leaders and directors of VTA, the decisions you make around transportation planning, policies, and funding profoundly shapes our community. That's why I'm inviting you to take part in the Week Without Driving, which started on Monday and ends Sunday. You can participate for a single trip, for a day, or for the remainder of the week. Even if you end up driving every time you need to go somewhere, your reflections about what mobility options work and don't work for non-drivers in your community are invaluable. Thank you for considering this opportunity to lead by example and help shape a more accessible transportation for all. And I also just want to share some statistics about why you should consider taking the pledge. Every community includes people who cannot drive. Approximately 1/3 of people in the US cannot drive due to age, ability, income, and other factors. Seniors outlive their safe driving age by 7 to 10 years. 10% of adults rarely or never drive, and lower income households are much more likely to not be able to afford a car or drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another commenter?
No, Chair, we do not.
Okay, we'll close public comment. And there are no items today under item number 5, public hearings. So we'll move to item 6, reports. And I believe we have Kylie Clark, Citizens Advisory Committee Chair, joining us remotely to provide the report.
hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, Chairperson Lopez, General Manager Ganot, and members of the board. Sorry to be attending on Zoom. I actually have a 7 p.m., so this is just on time. The Citizens Advisory Committee met on September 10th, and we considered the 2026 Transit Service Plan, which is action item 8.3 on your regular agenda tonight. The committee and staff discussed transit options for current Route 59 riders who would lose their bus stops because of the route alignment change, as well as alternate options for Express 121 riders. We also briefly discussed the logistic challenges of the Route 523 stop at the De Anza Transit Center, and we talked about possibilities for easing access in the future, especially for those with limited mobility and paratransit users. We want to commend staff for being able to find ways to strengthen ridership and minimize impacts on the community while remaining fiscally responsible. We were very impressed by what staff was able to make happen, and ultimately we unanimously recommended adoption of the plan. Additionally, we discussed an information item on the cashless fare payment barrier study. The committee expressed support for a faster rollout of Clipper 2.0 and other contactless payment options. There's often frustration when reloading Clipper cards, and there was some talk about the fact that there aren't enough payment kiosks available, so we talked a lot about the kind of need for change with that whole system when possible. We also want to make sure that staff engage with seniors for the pilot project, make sure that we have robust information available in other languages besides English, and include an outreach plan with the unhoused population as they might be likely to use a cash option. We look forward to further updates from staff at a future meeting. Our next meeting will be held next week, Wednesday, October 8th at 4 p.m. at the VTA headquarters at 331 North 1st Street and also virtually over Zoom. Thank you. That concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And I don't think we have any questions, so we appreciate it. And we'll move on to 6.1b. And our Policy Advisory Committee Chair, Yvonne Martinez-Beltran, is also joining us remotely. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board, for having us here. On Thursday, September 11th, 2025, Policy Advisory Committee met. We voted to recommend the VTA Board of Directors approve the 2026 State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, as you know, of projects for Santa Clara County and adopt a Metropolitan Transportation Commission project-sponsored resolution of support for the capital elements that were identified. We also voted to recommend that VTA Board of Directors adopt the 2026 Transit Service Plan after a robust discussion about factors that led to decisions on routes. There were some changes in bus routes and frequency, especially looking ahead to special events that are coming for 2026. It was a great discussion where there was a lot of, I will say, camaraderie happening and thinking more about the larger picture rather than, just our individual communities. We then received an update on the cashless fare payment barrier study, which we thought was really interesting, and discussed the critical community engagement and the locations for the Clipper services, where those will be throughout Santa Clara County. I do want to highlight there was lots of different great ideas that bubbled up. Appreciate hearing those from Kylie as well. And one that I really took to heart, and I've had a couple more conversations about, is students, and just making sure that we're having our students get those cards and the easy access, maybe even some free access to that as well. We then recommended the programming of $2.5 million in FY 2026 Transportation Fund for Clean Air, TFCA funds, the adoption of a resolution approving the project priority for the FY 2025 and 2026 Countywide Transportation Development Act, or TDA, Article 3, and the committee received the programmed projects quarterly monitoring report for April through July of 2025. Other than that, it was a great meeting, and we will be looking to have our next meeting on November 13th at 4. We do have the League of Cities, which is coming up in October, where we're not able to work out all of the logistics for quorum, and so we'll be doing that in November. Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you, Board.
Thank you so much. And the items for, the reports for items 6.1 C, D, and E are in the packet. So that will bring us to item 6.2, the general manager CEO's report. And we will be taking public comment for all items under the GM report after 6.2A.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As you know, let's go to the next slide. Next slide. Thanks. As you know, there have been a number of recent safety incidences along the Caltrain crossings, particularly in Palo Alto. And in response, Member Burt brought to the attention of Scott Hayward, my chief of staff, and myself, an innovative program from Caltrain to implement a series of quick-build AI-enabled improvements for at-grade Caltrain crossings. Michelle Bouchard is here tonight. She's going to speak to those a little bit later. But to get these improvements implemented as soon as possible, I have authorized an initial allocation of approximately $1 million in 2016 Measure B funds to get this started. But you'll also see in coming months, we will be requesting that the board consider using additional Measure B funds to extend these impactful improvements throughout Santa Clara County. Because these improvements will better protect pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, and passengers by reducing the risk of rail and road traffic collisions at the crossings. By embracing artificial intelligence, intrusion technology, solar lane markers, cross-hatching, and delineators, we will be able to deliver vital near-term safety improvements for everyone and improve efficiency for Caltrain operations. Next slide, please. On September 5th, VTA hosted a transportation investment tour to give 10 MTC commissioners and Executive Director Andy Vermeer a firsthand look at VTA's key projects and regional priorities. In addition, Chair Lopez, MTC commissioners, and board members Abacoga and Burt, along with myself, participated in the tour. We underscored the role of these investments not only in meeting Santa Clara County's mobility needs, but also in strengthening the region's economy, sustainability, and quality of life. The conversations helped reinforce the shared responsibility of MTC and VTA at advancing projects of both local and regional significance. There were a lot of good conversations that day, a lot of great questions. We had a really good turnout. And I want to thank all of our staff for the hard work in putting it together. It was a really great event. I also want to thank Member Abacoga for initiating the tour. Next slide. On the consent calendar tonight, I'm bringing this to your attention because I want to highlight item number 12, the vehicle registration fee intelligent transportation systems cycle 5 allocation scoring criteria. I know that's a very long name for an important initiative. We actually call it the VRF ITS program because we like acronyms a lot, so that's why we do that. The CMPP reviewed this item and recommended the board's approval. This is an exciting effort that is funded through the vehicle registration fee that VTA put on the ballot and the voters adopted in 2010. This program allows cities to partner with VTA to deploy transportation technologies to solve traffic congestion challenges. Sample projects include upgrading communications equipment, signal traffic controllers, vehicle detection systems, and lane management, among other technologies. Cities, your cities, will have the opportunity to apply for these funds in November, and I encourage all the cities to consider applying for this program as it comes out from our staff. Next slide. The APTA Leadership Program is a very well received program that is actually held each year. VTA has a new graduate of that program, Sam Sargent, our Director of Strategy and Transformation, completed the program in a ceremony last month at the APTA Transform Conference in Boston, and I'll give Michelle Bouchard credit because she nominated him. And actually, I want to congratulate Jesse Soto, our Deputy Director of Transit Maintenance. He is beginning his journey as a member of the Leadership's Programs class of 2026. And the Leadership APTA is a highly recognized and respected program in our industry designed to prepare the next generation of visionary senior and executive leaders in the public transportation industry. Several VTA staff members, including our recently, promoted Chief Operating Officer Nani Singh have already graduated from the program and grown in their transit careers. VTA's participation in this national, very highly competitive program, I will say this, we don't get somebody in there every year, is yet another way that the agency leans into leadership in our industry. So congratulations both to Sam and Jesse. Next, I just want to let you know, if you notice, that there is a little bag at each of your spots on the dais with your name on it, which holds a special T-shirt with some instructions. It's because you'll be voting on the United Against Hate Week resolution, which, if approved tonight, would mark VTA's third year joining the national campaign. It runs from October 19th through 25th, and it is a national call for local civic action to stop the hate and biases that are a dangerous threat to the safety and civility of our neighborhoods, towns, and cities. Would love it if you could wear it during the shirt the week of October 19th through the 25th. Take a photo of yourself in your city or on transit and with your family or an event, and then post it on social media, tag VTA and United Against Hate, and use the hashtags provided to you. In addition to a specially wrapped bus that we'll have 50 bus shelter posters throughout the county directing people to the unitedagainsthateweek.org, where they can find local community events. And then the last thing I want to mention, which is about the government shutdown and how it's affecting us. So I just want to keep you posted on that. So on October 1st, yesterday, Congress and President Trump failed to reach agreement on a continuing resolution triggering a federal government shutdown. While the impacts vary across the United States Department of Transportation, operations at the Federal Transit Administration will largely continue. That's mostly because the Federal Transit Administration is financed through the Highway Trust Fund's Mass Transit account and has received advance appropriations under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Therefore, none of its employees have been furloughed, and reimbursements for previously approved projects will continue. That's not true for all parts of the US DOT, but that is true for the Federal Transit Administration. For VTA, the impact is limited. Funding streams for existing FTA grants remain uninterrupted, and VTA does not have any grants awaiting the Department of Labor clearance, which has been furloughed. Therefore, reimbursements for VTA's outgoing projects will continue. With broader delays of federal partner agencies, though, that may slow down some new discretionary awards. VTA's day-to-day operations and project delivery, though, will continue without disruption during the shutdown. So lastly, there is on the dais and on the back table is my monthly GM report for October. The monthly highlight section celebrates VTA's 30 years in motion, and also on the dais and on the back table is my quarterly highlights for the third quarter, which provides updates on the key activities undertaken by VTA over the last few months. And our preliminary ridership safety and security data are in the online agenda packet. So I'm happy to take any questions, and that completes my report. Oh, except that I'm going to take any questions now, or should we then have Michelle up? Because I do want to introduce
Let's see if there are any questions, and then do that.
Are there any questions on this section of my report?
Yes, Director McAllister.
Yeah, thank you I really appreciate what you're doing with the traffic signaling. That's always a huge thing, especially with light rail going through Santa Clara and Sunnyvale by the time it gets to Mountain View, and so I look forward to that. With the advancements of AI, is that going to be part of the program of being able to coordinate AI projects or software to help coordinate the timing of signals and so forth going forward?
You know, I'm going to we are starting to look at that. David, I'm going to ask David to talk a little bit about some of the work that we're doing on using AI for our traffic signals, just real quickly about that. You get like a minute.
Hopefully you can hear me. Yes. AI is actually being used in a lot of different transportation applications. One of them we actually do have in place. City of San Jose actually has implemented a centralized TSP system, transit signal party system, to make our buses go through the intersection quicker, and it actually uses AI to look at traffic patterns and figure out the best time to send the transitory required call service call.
So we're continuing to work with them and trying to see how we can continue to fund other kind of projects. And we're working with MTC through their grants program, and we're hoping that if we get additional funding, that we're able to continue to offer that to the cities as well. Thanks, David.
Thank you. And with that, do we want to introduce Michelle?
So I'm actually very delighted to introduce Michelle Bouchard, the Executive Director of Caltrain. Michelle?
Hello? Oh, great. General Manager Gonot, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity. Chair Lopez, members of the board. My name is Michelle Bouchard. I'm the Executive Director here at Caltrain, or there at Caltrain. And I've had the pleasure of working for years with your General Manager. Really appreciate the opportunity to present a report on Caltrain directly to this board. You might wonder what I'm doing here at this particular time. I think certainly, as we've talked about it, VTA is a major investor in the Caltrain system and has been since the service began, and is one of the 3 partners that make up the Joint Powers Authority. And so we thought it would be very important for me to provide an update. We'd like to try on a twice-a-year basis and see how that goes. And so this would be the first report of this type. So I'm going to provide a little bit of background just to level set, and then we'll talk about some of the exciting things that are going on. We operate the railroad on track that is owned by the JPB for 51 miles between San Francisco and San Jose. And then south of San Jose, we operate limited service on Union Pacific tracks to Gilroy, and that is represented by the dotted line south of San Jose. What is unique about Caltrain is we have a very, very dense corridor. We're operating through 3 counties, 20 different jurisdictions. Carolyn talked about our grade crossings. There are 41 of them, and that is actually after many years of gradually reducing the number of at-grade crossings in the corridor. And we interact with all of the transit agencies on the peninsula, including hosting ACE, Capital Corridor, and Amtrak Long Distance, as well as freight. Might need a little help to advance this. Oh, there we go. So some of these faces look very familiar. We have a 9-member board that is comprised of 3 members from each of the member counties. Really want to thank Director Abakoga, Director Cohen, and Director Burt for serving on the board this time around. Really are very active. And it's important to understand that this, while these group of folks also often represent other entities, when they're at Caltrain, they are representing Caltrain and the corridor that we serve. You have heard, I'm sure, a little bit recently about an important project that is decades in the making. Am I doing something wrong here? There we go. And it's important to understand, while we think of Caltrain as a relatively young railroad, because we take on large projects, and we just started up the electrified service, it's important to understand that we started service and have been continually operating rail service on the corridor since the time of Lincoln. So we actually started steam service in the 1860s. We transitioned to diesel. And yeah, as of last September, we are running fully electric service in the corridor that we own between San Francisco and San Jose. So just want to show you, and by the way, this is a project that VTA invested in and heavily advocated for, as did the other 2 counties, and I think it really is a shining example of what investment in transportation and transit can do for our communities. And this just shows you some of the celebrations we had. Obviously, it is a project that was of national significance. It was a $2.4 billion investment that was celebrated up and down the corridor. This shows you the governor as well as Nancy Pelosi, and you see all of the electeds. Again, some familiar faces there. I apologize. There's a little bit of a lag here. And then this just shows how important the project has been throughout the corridor. We held celebrations at almost every single station. We had over 15,000 people, and it was a great weekend. We also named a train for Anna Eshoo, and so you see a picture up in the upper left-hand corner there. What has resulted from electrification is a true transformation of how we're able to provide service. We are operating right now, we've doubled service in the off-peak, we've doubled service on the weekends, so we're operating half-hourly 7 days a week, enhancing that service during the peak periods. But in addition to that, it really has become a world-class experience, including free Wi-Fi outlets at every single seat. And really what is fantastic is these vehicles were built in Utah. Carolyn's very familiar with this manufacturing facility. And that manufacturing facility was able to be built as a result of our project. So when we think about the positive economic impact of electrification, it is not just local. It is throughout the country, and certainly we're very proud of the fact that our job that was shovel in the ground since 2017 was responsible for creating, I think, more than 30,000 jobs throughout the U.S. So wanted to talk a little bit about a topic that is, it's exciting at the moment, but it also is very, very sobering when we think about the fiscal outlook for Caltrain. So this is the great stuff. With the faster rides, the enhanced technology, we are seeing ridership recovery that is far beyond what we had initially anticipated electrification would do. Year to year, we're 75% over. Additionally, our weekend ridership far surpasses even pre-COVID numbers. And, you know, I will say, people are really voting with their feet on this service. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that Caltrain has really maintained a very positive brand throughout the course of time. We did some polling, and you see here the numbers are pretty astounding. 82% of respondents find Caltrain to be favorable, and 91% of the riders really love the service. So where we are overall is we're still below pre-COVID. Overall, we're at 65%. And that is really sort of sets the stage for the next thing I'm going to talk to you about, because we were the nation's leader in terms of paying for nearly 75% of our operating costs coming out of the fare box. And with the reduction in people going into the office that persists, that really has impacted our bottom line. Which brings us to the more sobering part. We have been working with all of the region's transit operators to identify really what our long-term needs are. And so through this work, we've identified that over the course of the next 10 years, even with pretty aggressive ridership growth estimates, we're looking at a $75 million a year annual deficit. And so this is very much why Caltrain is so grateful for the vote that this board took and that the other two boards that represent Caltrain took to ensure that we can bring SB 63 to the governor and then to the voters. Did you just punch me? I'm just kidding. Oh, okay. All right. If I could just ask you to advance, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, I think we'd like to go to the next slide from here if we could. I think it's important to note, and when I say sobering, while we have a really, really great story, people love the service, this type of a deficit, about $75 million, I should say, it's about 25% of our annual operating budget. Thank you. And so we are working through scenarios now, and you know, there are various different outcomes dependent on where we stand in terms of whether SB 63 is successful or not. We do not have a long-term plan B if it is not successful. And certainly, we are also greatly in need of the loan that is now being discussed at the state level to be able to bridge Caltrain through the time period for when SB 63, if successful, if those funds were to be available. What's important is we are also right now looking at scenario 3, in which the measure fails and we have no additional external funding. We are looking at potentially drastic service cuts, including headed back to hourly service, reducing or eliminating weekend service, closing stations, really things that will trigger what you probably hear a lot, which is a potential death spiral for the service. And so in trying to really make sure that we are being as, I want to say, as conservative as we can in terms of not only reducing costs, but also increasing revenues. We've taken on some pretty major efforts. Just want to talk to you about this a little bit in those two categories. So when we talk about ridership growth strategies, obviously electrification with the customer experience is the thing. But we've also really been aggressively pursuing fare programs, which include our Dollar Youth, which we have seen be very, very successful in terms of growing youth ridership. We are also updating our Go Pass program, which in the past accounted for 1/3 of our fare revenue. It still does account for a substantial amount, but really the underlying economic principles that guided the first 20 years of that program no longer exist because of the ridership base. So we are changing that, and we're really reaching out not only to businesses, but also municipalities and educational institutions to really start to grow that program again. On the flip side of it, we are looking at cost containment strategies, which includes, things like reducing headcount. We have a full efficiency program that was launched about 8 months ago, where we're looking at every single line item in the budget. We're looking at crewing efficiencies. And then this one, real good news that just occurred. We had been working to get credit for our energy that is regenerated back into the grid. And with the great partners at Peninsula Clean Energy and San Jose Clean Energy, we have just secured credit for the regenerative braking, which is nearly 25% of that. So while it won't be a huge amount annually, but we're talking about a few $1 million, and really the kind of things or the gap that we need to bridge really is going to require a suite of solutions. Which brings us to the other thing that we've been doing in terms of our non-fare revenue strategies. Over the course of the last year, we've taken efforts to identify every single asset the railroad owns, which includes things like fiber, TOD. You guys have a great transit-oriented development and real estate program here. We are really taking a very close and strategic look at all of our holdings. We're looking to see how we might monetize some of the traction power system that we installed. And then we're also looking at real small things like private charters of trains, naming rights, et cetera. Everything to see how we might be able to, again, run Caltrain as a business that happens to have the train service as one of our business lines, but also looking at all of our assets to figure out how we might get some monetization and bring money to the railroad. So then just want to wind up to talk about some of the other major things that we're doing. In addition to electrification, now that that is in the ground and operating successfully. We have a bunch of really, really exciting things going on in San Jose with not only a Caltrain-only project that was entitled last year. We're also working collaboratively with several partners to develop the Diridon Station program. We've got a couple of large projects up in San Francisco, somewhat doing the same thing with TOD. Super Bowl and World Cup planning is on everybody's mind these days. And then finally, we are going to be taking delivery of a battery electric multiple unit. So that's in 2028. That was funded by the state of California. And what it will do is it will allow us to operate without diesel south of San Jose, where we don't have traction power, but we'll be able to use battery. And so we'll be taking delivery of this in 2028. And so hopefully we'll be now eliminating the diesel fleet from the Gilroy segment. And in this manner, we will be a fully emissions-free corridor all the way from San Francisco to Gilroy. We're really focused on the crossing strategy. As I mentioned, we have 41 of them. Initially, I think the idea was we would package them up. We would pursue funding for all 41 crossings to be completely grade separated. But we really have definitely seen costs for construction and for grade separations increasing so much over the course of time. And so while we need to continue to pursue grade separations, we also took a look at really figuring out how we could increase safety at grade crossings with some very minimal improvements. And Carolyn's already talked about this, but we're really proud of what we've done in terms of using an AI and LiDAR-based tool called Rail Sentry, deploying it at crossings, letting that tool learn about the behaviors that pedestrians, cyclists, and cars exhibit at those crossings, and then we identify the improvements that could be made. And so we have installed bollards, these solar lane markers. We've had conversations with all of the GPS and technology companies to make sure that they're identifying railroad crossings on their GPS products. And then we're also working with municipalities to make sure that the timing with the traffic lights allow for cars to get off the crossings. Short story is, at some of the crossings where we have the most incidents, first of all, we learned something harrowing, which was we were having 3 cars a week turning down the right-of-way. And the best thing that we learned is after we've made all of these changes and improvements, we have not had a single car turn down the right-of-way. And so it's really moving the needle for safety. And so we so much appreciate the Kickstart funding, I'll call it, to continue to deploy these types of projects really up and down the peninsula. We'll be looking to outfit every single one of the 41 crossings with some suite of these changes. And so instead of spending a few $100 million to grade separate immediately, we're talking about a few $100,000 to secure these types of safety improvements. So more on that to come, and really looking forward to partnering with you on that. And just finally, at Caltrain, we, with a sense of urgency in 2022, decided to dedicate ourselves to an organization-wide safety review to enhance our safety culture. And like I said, it has been something that we've had some help with. We've established programs. We've brought in a dedicated chief safety officer who's established an executive safety committee. And we really have seen the results, and we're really bearing some fruit just in terms of the people part and the organizational part of safety. And how this results is it's reduced injuries, it is reduced fatigue, and we're really proud of the fact that this year we received the APTA Commuter Rail Gold Safety Award. Anyways, little longer than I anticipated. I did tell someone you should give me a microphone to talk about Caltrain because I'll be here for all night. So anyways, with that, I am happy to answer any questions you might have. And again, I really appreciate the opportunity to feature Caltrain today.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to colleagues for any clarifying questions for Michelle, and I see Director McAllister.
Yeah, thank you. I'm taking advantage of this seat tonight. Hey, I'm from the city of Mountain View, and we have some rail crossings questions for you. Has there been any thought to prioritizing grade separation projects that are part of Measure B grade separation programs, given the significant funding contribution from Measure B sales tax?
Absolutely. And in fact, we've had an effort that has been ongoing, which is looking at prioritizing all of the crossings for work. But as we started that program, it's called the Corridor Crossings Strategy. As we started that work, what we said is we're going to set some priorities based on readiness. And so when we talk about the Measure B projects, we are actively working with the communities of Sunnyvale, Mountain View, and Palo Alto on how to advance those projects. I think the Mountain View projects are the ones that are most advanced. And so we are in the process, our team is in the process of working certainly with the Mountain View folks. But the short answer is, because of the Measure B dollars and because those projects were more advanced when we started the corridor crossing strategy, they definitely are at the top of the list, in addition to the one or two projects in San Mateo County that also had a big leg up with respect to funding.
And when you were talking about the budget deficit, I started to go, oh, you're having a big deficit. Is that going to affect any kind of the work on the crossing, the grade crossings throughout the route?
The deficit that we talked about is all about operations and maintenance. Certainly when it comes to taking a look at head count, we have to be really careful about how we're dedicating our human resources to the operation. And we want to make sure where we have projects, capital projects that are funded, we want to make sure that we have the right people that continue to be employed to work on those projects. So the short story is I don't anticipate that there'll be a huge difference, but we still need to have folks that are working to get more funding because we need to complete the funding plans for those projects.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much, Director Kamei.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing this information. I think it's really valuable. As someone who is not as close to what's happening at Caltrain, other than having to ride it or whatever, I think it's very helpful to have this. So I hope this is not the first and only time to have you here, because I think that as things move along, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the measure or anything like that. So I think it's always good communication and information so that we have some way of being well-informed when we're making decisions. So thank you so much for that. As I look at, I know that the deficit is sort of just the average over time. But I'm wondering, you had the 3 different scenarios. And I'm just wondering, are there additional thoughts or measures to take just to look for ways to reduce what could be in that average? Because I think that if we don't take measures now or over time to be able to find a way out of that current situation, I think it's great that you have sort of the plan to increase revenue, look for ways of increasing revenue, as well as, looking at, okay, well, worst case scenario, but, trying to look in the middle to see if there are better ways of, using technology, using different things. And I think that you talked a little bit about, what can be done, but I think that it has to be a consistent, not one end or the other, but maybe even, moving along the way, and that will be helpful for the organization. So just curious about that, taking measures that might be, and it sounds like you've started with some things like the solar, like the electrical, but I wonder if there are other things that your team is looking at.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there are a few things. First, I think it's worth mentioning that we have already started to the tune of, in the last budget process, we managed to remove about $10 million that came in the form of, frozen positions, taking a look at the lengths of our trains, also taking a look at, every single position. So I think it's worth mentioning that the Caltrain service is operated via a contract with Transit America Services, Inc. And so there's some 550 men and women who are providing all of the maintenance and operating work out on the corridor. And so what we have really started doing in earnest is working with them to figure out how we can work through either crewing efficiencies and or schedules for when maintenance is done. One of the things that is a little bit, we're still working through, I'll put it that way. We've been in service for a year. The electric system and the amount of train service that we're operating, we have windows for maintenance that are potentially smaller than they have been in the past because it requires isolating the electric before we can get workers out there. So one of the things that we're really looking at is, from a technology perspective, is how we can do inspections and other sort of light maintenance activities by using things like drones, sensors, et cetera. So that is definitely something we're going to be looking at. And I just think it's worth saying, even if there are some things that don't yield immediate savings, but do yield savings over the course of time, now is the time to implement those things. So
Great.
I would be very happy next time I come back to talk about some of the efficiencies that we found.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't see any other lights. Any other questions from directors? No, if not, Michelle, I really want to express my appreciation and gratitude, and likewise, I look forward to this being regular, I think twice a year occurrence. I think it's going to be really valuable given how the deep level partnership we have. Carolyn, any last words? If not, we'll go to, thank you, Michelle. And we can now take public comment for all items under the GM report. Do we have any speaker cards or online?
Yes, Chair, we have one hand raised over Zoom. Roland, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Thank you, Chair. So I'd like to very briefly touch on item 6.2 and close up on 620. On 6.2, we are saying very encouraging ridership from Bus and Light Rail, but the ridership from bus is completely missing. That's a concern because it's running at approximately 10% of the, I think, 2015 FRG prediction, while the rest of the bus system is running at 65%. On 620, which is the oversight report, there is no discussion of the cash flow crisis, which was precipitated by the irresponsible decision to transition to 24/7 construction activities at Western Portal. And this in turn resulted in an increase of over 100% from the current $45 million a month to $96 million. This needs to be addressed as a matter of urgency. Thank you.
And there are no more hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. We'll close public comment, and now we'll move on to 6.3, the chair's report. And let's pull up the presentation. First topic, I'll just get started, is timely one, the passage of SB 63. As this board knows, this would authorize a 5-county regional sales tax, and it passed legislature on September 12th, so it is now sitting before the governor's desk, where it needs to be signed into law by October 12th. So again, I want to thank this board for the robust discussion that took place. Staff, as was promised at the last meeting and all the discussions we've had, will continue to track closely and share updates, timely updates as we have them. Next, I want to come to a new initiative that we're calling Mobility Matters, and this is really hearing the feedback, and in fact, in part inspired by some of the discussion that we had around SB 63 and the desire for innovation and just bringing fresh ideas before the board. So while this is still being fleshed out, the idea is to convene seminars, speaker series, white papers, and share them as resources with this board. And it can include experts, not just regionally, excuse me, experts not just regionally and statewide, but nationally, sharing some of the latest ideas in innovations in transportation. So I think tentatively looking to launch early next year, and we'll keep this board informed. It'll be open not just to the board, but hopefully, depending on the exact venue and format, to be open to the public and disseminated publicly as well. So different from the kind of workshops we would do, and less tied to specific agenda items and more just ongoing innovation. So welcome any ideas, comments, or suggestions if people have them. Thank you. And we can go to the next slide. So I also want to give a little bit of a preview for something that we'll discuss in full at the November 6th VTA board meeting. We've touched on this before, and beginning early this year, we started to look together with staff across departments and the GM's office to look at how to make our meetings more efficient. And one of the changes you've seen has been rolled out to move closed session to the beginning of the meeting rather than to the end, which I think has been appreciated. I think has helped with our meetings. The bigger and more complex piece that I'm grateful to the many people who've worked on this, including Sam Sargent, Scott Haywood, and many others, has been to look at the committee structure that we have and figure out, are they still serving the original purpose? Can they be consolidated and streamlined? And so at the November 6th board meeting, we will hear and discuss and offer input on a proposal to begin to streamline. This would not roll out if it is adopted until 2026. But just with the goal at more operational efficiency, more efficiency for staff, and easing folks' calendars as well. So look forward to that next month. And then finally, I just want to share in my other capacity, I had my State of the City August 20th. Appreciate that we had a number of directors and alternate directors join as well. Shared information about SB 63 and some of what the board is working on, and there was a lot of excitement around what VTA is doing and what's on the horizon. So want to share that, and again, with appreciation to everyone who came out. And that's it for me. Do you have any public comment for item 6.3?
No, Chair, we do not.
And do you have any questions? Great. We'll go on to item 7, the consent agenda. And I just note that we added 7.24X. So we have items 7.1 through 7.24 and 24X. Are there any items board members wish to pull from or add to consent? And if not, are there any abstentions or recusals? Okay, let's go to public comment if we have any.
Yes, Chair, we have one hand raised over Zoom. Roland, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. My comment relates to 724X, specifically that the RFP for the program management contract is over 1 year overdue. The current partners are directly responsible for the cost escalation of BART Phase 2, including the disastrous onboarding of Gary Briggs that some of you may remember, even though it only lasted 8 months. It was catastrophic to the tune of $6 billion. So my recommendation moving forward, well, first of all, I don't understand we could be extending this contract for another 8 months. That is to issue a new RFP as a matter of urgency. Thank you.
And there are no more hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. Close public comment. Do we have a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda? Cohen. Thank you, Ernest, for the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. That item passes. And we'll now go on to our regular agenda, first of which is 8.1, an action item to authorize the general manager and CEO to enter into an exclusive negotiations agreement with Eden Housing for the TOD project at River Oaks. And while the team is coming up, I'll just note if the agreement cannot be reached with Eden Housing during the ENA term, the recommendation also includes authorization for the GM to enter into an ENA with an alternate developer, Mercy Housing, at the general manager's discretion. And that full recommendation is on the screen, and Deborah DeGang, Chief Planning Officer, will introduce us.
All right. Thank you, Chair. I'm really pleased to bring to you tonight second in 2 months of our TOD developments, this time at the River Oaks Station. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the team, to Jessie O'Malley-Solis.
Great. Thank you, Deborah. And good evening, Chair Lopez and members of the board. I want to introduce my colleagues to my right who are going to be helping with the presentation tonight. Jocelyn Hazen, who's our Manager of Transit-Oriented Development, and Christina Nape, who is a Senior Project Manager on the TOD team. This is an action item, as Chair Lopez mentioned. This is for developer selection of the first phase of development at our River Oaks transit-oriented development site. And I'll pass the next slide over to Jocelyn.
Thank you, Jessie. The River Oaks site is a 17-acre property located in North San Jose, which currently serves as VTA's administrative headquarters. When staff relocates to 488 Almaden next year, the buildings will be demolished and the site will be available for transit-oriented development. Last year, VTA received a grant from MTC, which has helped fund initial pre-development work, including a fit test, community engagement, and a station access study. Staff anticipates that due to the large size of the site, full build-out will occur over 3 to 4 phases. The area that we identified for phase 1 is the 3-acre portion that is outlined in blue on the image on the right. The area that's highlighted in green was reserved for parkland, as we heard from both the community and the city that was a priority to extend the Riverview Park down through the site. In April, the VTA board approved the release of an RFP for phase 1. The goals that were outlined in the RFP included increasing transit ridership and multimodal access, activating public spaces by the station to create a vibrant transit-oriented community, generating revenue to support VTA's ongoing transit operations, and finally, to create a mix of affordability at a high density. Overall, we received a very robust response to the RFP, with 5 comprehensive proposals received by the deadline, which was our most robust RFP response to date.
These 5 proposals were narrowed down to 2 finalists from Eden Housing and Mercy Housing, 2 nonprofit affordable housing developers. And the review panel unanimously voted to recommend Eden for selection. Eden's proposal includes 328 affordable units at a broad mix of affordability levels and 67 parking stalls. The proposal also includes public community space, which was identified as a priority by the council member. Most notably, their proposal incorporates a southern extension of the existing park and a partnership with the Magical Bridge Foundation to build a new Magical Bridge playground, which were not requirements in the RFP. Eden's proposal includes amenities for transit riders, multimodal links between River Oaks Station, housing, the future park, and the trail, and car share, bike share, and e-bike charging. Using VTA's internal modeling tool, the project is estimated to bring in over 700 new daily riders and upwards of $600,000 in new annual fare box revenue. The proposed ground lease structure includes a combination of guaranteed annual ground rent and a share of Eden's developer fee, and non-guaranteed income sharing and residual receipts. This brings the 30-year net present value of the project from a guaranteed minimum of $8.4 million and the potential to go to $14.6 million based on project performance. Here you can see some imagery from Eden's proposal with renderings on the left and a site plan on the right. Eden has proposed a two-building, two-phase project with the parking located on the ground floor of Building 1, surrounded by the multimodal lounge, community room, and co-working space. Building 2 has ground floor units that open onto a public art walk as well as a private dog park. The top image on the left is the view as you walk through the art walk between the two buildings, and the image on the bottom is the view of the development from along the Guadalupe River Trail. The evaluation panel felt that one of the greatest strengths of Eden's proposal was its incorporation of park and open space. The park and paths are all at grade and publicly accessible, with trails, a picnic area, amphitheater, exercise area, and game area. The park also includes a new connection to the Guadalupe River Trail. Eden has partnered with the Magical Bridge Foundation to propose San Jose's first Magical Bridge Playground, a fully accessible, multi-generational playground with locations throughout the Bay Area and around the world. The typical Magical Bridge Playground offers around 80 events per year, staffed by volunteers called Kindness Ambassadors. At this site, they have proposed a Ride to Play initiative where Kindness Ambassadors would meet families at River Oaks Light Rail Station and escort them to the playground. And here you can see some imagery from Mercy's proposal. They had an innovative modular concept where units would be constructed off-site and then assembled at River Oaks. The development has a central spine with branches of units extending out, and there is residential open space between the branches located on top of a parking podium, including play areas, a garden, and bike paths.
The proposals were evaluated based on the 4 criteria shown on the left. While both proposals were assessed to be very strong and both teams are qualified and capable, there were 3 criteria where the evaluation panel felt that Eden had the stronger proposal and better met VTA's goals for the site. First, the evaluation panel considered Eden to have the superior local developer experience, as they have 34 sites within Santa Clara County. Eden was also VTA's very first TOD partner at the Ohlone Chenoweth project in 1998. Second, the panel found Eden's site plan to be superior with its publicly accessible open space, resident amenities and programming, as well as the community benefits through the park and playground build-out. Lastly, the panel found the offer and terms from Eden to be superior, as it provides immense opportunities for upside through the inclusion of revenue sharing capabilities. The review panel also identified 3 areas for negotiation to improve the project. First, the panel acknowledged that the proposal included a very ambitious parking strategy and recommends working closely with Eden to enhance TDM opportunities to ensure that the parking implementation is successful for both residents and visitors of the site. Next, the panel recommends working with Eden to reconsider the architectural style and materials to better suit the neighborhood context and to better set the stage for future phases of development on the site, as well as working through the phasing strategy for both the housing and park elements of the project. Lastly, the panel recommended working closely with both Eden and the city to begin early conversations around the operations and maintenance for the park and playground. This slide depicts our anticipated timeline if Eden is selected as our developer partner for the River Oaks project, with construction of the residential units beginning in the next 3 to 5 years, followed by construction of the park. And now I'll pass it back to Jesse to review the recommendation.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Staff's recommendation before you tonight is to authorize the general manager to enter into an exclusive negotiations agreement with Eden Housing for a term of 12 months and 2 6-month extensions, during which VTA and Eden staff will be working toward final terms of the lease option agreement and the lease agreement between the parties. Further, if If agreeable terms cannot be met between both Eden and VTA, this action also authorizes the general manager to move directly over to an exclusive negotiation agreement with Mercy Housing, to not have to recompete the RFP on this site at the general manager's discretion. And we are, that concludes our presentation. We are here for comments and questions. And I did want to note that Darren Smith is also here. He is our consultant, our third-party economic consultant with Economic Planning Systems, and he can answer any detailed questions if needed on the performa work. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Let's first go to public comment, and we'll have Tammy Strauss, then Harry Neal, and then Alenka Biedel. We can restart the timer.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Strauss, Associate Director of Real Estate Development at Eden Housing. Thank you to the VTA for recommending Eden as the development partner for River Oaks. We're honored and excited to work with the VTA, the City of San Jose, and community stakeholders to deliver high-quality, affordable homes connected to opportunity. River Oaks pairs affordable housing with transit-first living by locating homes near frequent transit, jobs, schools, and services. We can lower transportation costs, reduce emissions, and support a vibrant, inclusive neighborhood. Eden will deliver thoughtfully designed, durable housing for families, seniors, and the workforce. We appreciate VTA's leadership in leveraging public land for public good. Eden will bring our full team to ensure that River Oaks is a place to thrive, engage partners transparently, pursue competitive funding, and deliver a model for TOD affordability in Silicon Valley. Thank you, and we're ready to get started whenever you are.
Thanks so much.
Good evening, board. First of all, I want to say thank you, staff, for your presentation. This is a very, very exciting project, and I'm very excited to see that this agency is moving so strongly on transit-oriented development. This is really a weakness, not just of our transit system, but really of our whole community is poor land use. And I'm really glad to see that we're taking some action on it. I do want to highlight something that I saw just today is one of our southern neighbors, San Diego, has quite a lot of success with their TOD programs. And one thing that their mayor mentioned is that they have instituted a program where 100% affordable projects are required to be approved in 30 days or less. And now projects are regularly approved in less than 8 business days. We should do that for TOD too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I push the button? Sorry. Sorry, I'm Alenka Villarreal. Good evening. And I am the founder of the Magical Bridge Foundation. Thank you for having us. We are exceedingly excited to be part of the Eden Housing proposal for the River Oaks VTA campus being recommended for your consideration this evening. As many of you know, Magical Bridge creates radically inclusive playgrounds, and we are very excited about the shared mission with Eden and the VTA team of a much more inclusive and welcoming world. And despite many efforts of all of us in this room today, many people still have limited access to community activities through public spaces. And so while we try so hard to do right by everyone, the barriers are still there, the curbs, the tan bark, not because of the disability, but because of poor design and poor planning. So public transportation is the ultimate inclusion maker, and we are very, very excited about this. Ride and play the VTA way, and we also are looking forward to get started, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have anyone online?
Yes, Chair, we have one hand raised over Zoom. Blair, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Hi everyone. Happy October.
Yeah, I'm from San Diego. It's nice to hear what was mentioned previously. It's good to know, actually. San Diego has really low construction costs for their housing, as an additional note to add. It sounds like you have a good plan here for the future of this area. I always felt this was a beautiful area, and it wasn't given enough credit in the public comment space of how beautiful it was, even if you've had to have moved. It sounds like you're trying to find a real good afterlife for it, so thank you. Good luck in those efforts, and I think we always need to mention what this sort of area offered in terms of enrichment. I think it made people feel better. We need to learn how to bring more people to understand that concept. We can't be dour to it. I think we have to be open and positive to this kind of architecture that we're leaving behind at this time, and thank you.
And there are no more hands raised.
Thank you. We'll close public comment and come back to discussions. And I see Director Cohen.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you for moving quickly on this project. The River Oaks campus is potentially the most important development site in North San Jose as we build out thousands and thousands of housing units and also a vibrant mixed-use community. I want to thank you for continuing to keep in mind some of the master planning that's been done on this site, some of the proposals that have come forward over the years. It's important that we think holistically about the entire site, even though we're going to be developing in a piecemeal. So I appreciate that discussion about making sure that the design is going to match with what we're doing. And I do like the picture on page 7, which shows the connectivity between the various buildings is really important because this is just the first piece of many that's going to build out a site which will have residential, commercial, and business. And so, it's really important that we do it right. And also appreciate the fact that we are moving forward with or leaving up to the commitment that we had to keep that strip of parkland along Guadalupe River in the back. Really important that we have that connectivity all the way from the stormwater garden north of Riverview through Riverview Park and into the back of the site. And I do love the idea that we're bringing in a partner to get this park built sooner rather than have it be something that comes a lot later in the project. So I want to thank you for all of that. I do obviously have I'm glad you addressed the concern about the TDM and the very ambitious parking requirements. Given that there's more property on this overall site, can you discuss a little bit the short-term mitigation for potential overflow and what could be done in the long term if we find that the 0.2 ratio is not enough for the community?
Yeah, absolutely. The entire River Oaks site, as it's built out today, has over 700 parking stalls at grade. When we demo the buildings associated with the campus, there will continue to be at-grade parking on the site and continue to have park and ride facilities at the corner of River Oaks and First. And one of the things, as we've envisioned the future build out of this entire campus, that we have strategized as a long-term goal is also to maintain that park and ride lot for the future. But what that does, the excess parking on the site today allows us to institute things like shared parking. We are working on a site at Berryessa, also in your district, where we are utilizing a shared parking strategy at that site. And we know in total that we have enough parking for the residents at this site as well.
Yeah, the shared parking is a really important ongoing strategy. It was really an interesting thing last week when I was on a trip in Atlanta. We were looking at developments there to see what they've done at a large development called the Battery, where the new stadium is, but also how they've built housing, business headquarters, big company headquarters, and also the stadium, and they use the same parking lots at different times of day for different purposes. So we ought to be thinking that long term on this site.
Definitely.
Clearly, as we develop on this site, there will be an opportunity to build some shared parking on some of the other phases that we will need to maintain the ratios that are important for people who are going to be living there and visiting the site. So I appreciate that, and I'll move approval of the agreement.
I think I got fully with the second. Thank you. Let's keep going down this way. Director Arenas?
Wonderful. Actually, I was going to ask about the parking as well, because I know the Magical Bridge Park, like the one in my district and the one in the downtown area, is visited by families that have children with disabilities or have different abilities. And so there is a question for me about how are we accommodating those families. As you know, some of those families may need to bring cars to the park and not necessarily transport their children in public transportation because of very specific needs. And so I just wanted to make sure I bring that up. I'm glad to hear that you have a plan in place to augment that. But in particular, is there something that you're doing specific for families that have children with disabilities?
For parking in the park area?
For parking.
I don't recall if that's in the current plan. Do either of you recall?
It's not contemplated in their current plan, but that's part of what we wanted to work through during the parking discussions during the ENA, was making sure there was ample ADA and visitor parking for people visiting the Magical Bridge Park.
Yes, it is important. My son had therapy when he was very young, and I looked for places to take him that were adapted. Obviously now he's huge and well able to do a lot of things on his own, but I had to pay for Gymboree. At that time, Gymboree was still open and an opportunity for my kiddo to go to. But I'm so happy to see these kinds of parks open for families that are for public use. And so I think we just have to be careful about the parking. Not that I want to increase and have that be a feature, but I do think that it complicates things for families, especially for those who have wheelchair-bound children and some other issues that may complicate transportation. And so anyways, that was my piece that I was going to ask about. And then the other pieces is how are we, is there anything that we are going to do to maybe attract the folks who don't have cars or who may want to try public transportation or may want to drop their car? Is there any maybe incentive to buy into some of our public transportation systems? What are we doing to attract them?
Previously, this board helped us with policy recommendation to include transit passes for each unit that's built at our sites. And so at a minimum, every single household will have transit passes or smart passes through VTA. That gives you access to both the trains and buses for a period of 2 years. And we are looking for long-term programs to help us fund that in perpetuity.
Oh, that's amazing. Wonderful. It's going to be really interesting to see who you attract, right, with limited parking. But I'm excited to see the challenge. Thank you. And congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Now let's move down to Director Foley.
Really excited to see this project come forward, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised at actually how quickly it is coming to fruition. When we first decided to buy another piece of property and put River Oaks on the map or on the market, I thought, oh, this is going to take forever. The market's slow. It's not good. This isn't a good time for builders. But here you are with a proposal that is really a good proposal. And I want to echo Councilmember Director Cohen, who represents that area. It's really important that you take into consideration the river, the waterways, and the pathways that will be used down, continue to be used, and continue to make those beautiful and in your consideration as you piecemeal this project going forward. I think that's fabulous. I also want to really elevate Magical Bridges and the fact that you are building an adaptive playground. I'm getting ready to build an adaptive playground in District 9. It'll be the first one in my area, and that we hope to break ground on that sometime next year. And it's really an opportunity for us to make sure that we have playgrounds accessible for all of our community, and the work that you do is beautiful. I also want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to an event we have coming up for members of our disability community, which is Disability Awareness Day at the City of San Jose on October 30th, and we'd love you all to come out. It is co-hosted by Director Kamei and Councilmember Casey from City Council, and we have sponsorship and participation from the County of Santa Clara as well. So please come and support us, but the fact that you're thinking so far out of the box and really looking at incorporating facilities for all of our children and all of our community members is really astounding, and I'm happy to have seconded the motion. And Councilmember Cohen, you're lucky to have this project come into your area. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yes, Director Sell.
So thank you for bringing this forward and negotiating these. I was wondering, are the potential people the target? Is it families, are elderly people, are single people? How many, are there studios, and are there 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1-bedroom? What's the target for this community?
Christina, would you mind sharing some detail there?
Yeah, so it is aimed to be a family development, which means at least 50% of the units would be 2 and 3 bedrooms. It's about 25% studios, and then about 38% equally 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. So we're looking for a very broad community audience for this development.
Okay. And then recently, I went to a panel discussion in which they talked about for families to minimize driving, having co-located affordable housing and childcare. So I guess if you can imagine, if someone's not, decided not to have a car, then they would have to take transit to go to childcare, and then they'd have to go to work. But if there were some amount of childcare on site, then that would make it easier for the families. And I don't know if that is a potential for negotiation, or if they have experience with that, or if that's possible. The other thing is, in this economy, would finding financing for this be difficult? Or like in Sunnyvale, I think our housing developers are having difficulties in this economy to build multi-story housing.
Yeah, so a project like this is likely to receive funding from ASIC, both for the affordable housing, but transit improvements that benefit our agency and the city as well, in addition to tax credits from the state. What you see in affordable housing development funding stacks is a whole host. When people say it takes a village, take a look at affordable housing performance. There's usually 4 or 5 funding partners associated with the full performa stack. So you can anticipate that over this E&A period, we're going to develop a robust funding structure for the site, and that's part of the focus in this next term.
Okay. And then sometimes, like, banks want to see a certain minimum amount of parking, but I think when this was presented to this committee, it was mentioned that there'd be bike parking for each unit, and that might help the banks be able to accept this, because there would be, is that what is?
Yeah, there's going to be bike parking, there's going to be bike share, there's also going to be car share opportunities at the site. So all of those elements help lenders get more comfortable. I will share from my prior private side development experience, lenders are often really focused in on elements like that on the market rate side. And what those lenders like to see is that you're not offering anything different or short of what's being offered in the marketplace. The great thing about affordable housing and the opportunity to look closely at district parking or shared parking is it allows us, in particular for our transit agency, to build out less parking overall, to share parking amenities amongst uses, and hopefully generate much more additional ridership through our development.
Okay. And then my last question is, these number of units you've chosen, you mentioned that if we do run into a bind, that we could add a story or something like that. Is this the set amount? No more stories? This is the number of units? Or
This is the amount of units proposed for this. That was not one of the things that we highlighted for this site for negotiation. We did recently highlight that as a negotiation point for our Great Mall site, and so that may be what you're recalling at the committee discussion. I think the overall density on this site is over 100 per acre. It's roughly 99 per acre. VTA's policy is to not have density lower than 75 density units per acre, and so this proposal meets and exceeds our policy goals. Of course, we always want higher and greater density, and so I would accept that as a challenge for us to think through in this next phase.
Okay, well, thank you. This is a very beautiful selection with all the green pathways and everything like that. If I were a parent, I would want to live here. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other? Yeah, Director Kamei.
Thank you so much. You know, I wasn't going to say anything because I think Director Foley covered all of what I was thinking about. But one of the things that Director Sell mentioned was this idea of enhancing what families need, which is childcare. I know that in and of itself, childcare also has a lot of barriers because there's so many requirements, but it's something to think about because I think that when you look at the barriers that families have in terms of you know, jobs and other responsibilities, I think that childcare is becoming much more expensive than even healthcare. And so I think that as we think about some of these developments, I know it's, you know, not all one size fits all, but I think that I've seen many of the previous projects that Eden has had in terms of having community space and all of that. And I think that there might be creative ways of doing, you know, something in terms of amenities that families need. And I would agree with Director Sell in terms of this is kind of emerging, that more and more families need that childcare, and to have it there would be fantastic. I also want to say that the beauty of what they've come up with in terms of taking full advantage of the river and allowing it to really just be just beautiful. So I want to applaud, you know, the Eden for creating that wonderful space and really taking advantage of the natural environment, because I think that you know, that has not been done in the past, and to enhance that, I thought, oh, that's really, really nice. So thank you so much, and thank you for whoever designed it. It looks really great. And having, you know, the magical playground, I think it's going to be even, I want one in my area, you know. Someday. But I think it's going to be a great development. So thank you.
Thanks so much. Any other comments or questions? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That item passes. Thank you to the presentation. That takes us to item 8.2, and this is an action item to approve a third amendment to the employment contract between Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority and General Manager CO Carolyn Gonap. The full recommendation is noted on the screen, and the agreement is at your place and also available on the website. And before we go to my colleagues, I'd like to take any public comment on this item.
Chair, we have one hand raised. Roland, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Thank you, Chair. So the first concern here is the current contract has got 9 months to run, so I don't understand the urgency to extend it any further. But in the short time left, I'd like to bring 3 red flags for your attention. We've just had the first ever work stoppage in the history of VTA, which was totally preventable. Next thing is we continue to have this toxic work culture, and I don't see that being addressed by the general manager. And I'm going to wrap up with having a very serious issue about characterizing the $1 billion cost overrun in Box Phase 1 as being $200 million under surplus. Thank you.
Chair, we have one more hand raised over Zoom.
Okay.
Blair, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you for everyone's work that we've worked to answer the questions of contract negotiations. As a side note, as these negotiations were going on, I was working on video issues, so videos could, public meetings could make sure to be on the YouTube website. There's been problems with that over the past year or two. I'm hoping they're learning to be corrected and they can, YouTube videos can be more accessible and available more soon after a meeting. Don't get blocked off and closed off. I think everyone's working on that, and there's a whole new system that VTA is developing for their sharing.
Do we have comments on the item in question?
I felt it was a part of the process that had a function within the contract negotiation process. So I just wanted to mention it's being updated and going along. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And there are no more hands raised.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to colleagues for any questions or discussion. If not, I'll be glad to make a motion to move the recommendation. Could we bring it back on screen? Second. Thank you, Director Candelas. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks so much. That brings us to 8.3, which is our 2026 Transit Service Plan. And we'll hear from Deborah DeGang, our Chief Planning Officer, who will introduce us.
Thank you, Chair. This is our second fun item of the night to bring to you today. I'd like to introduce Janice Soriano Ramos, our Senior Transportation Planner, and she's been leading the effort to prepare our 2026 Transit Service Plan. This is something we bring to you every year to look forward to the subsequent calendar year as to what we're looking at for transit service to deliver throughout the year. And I'll let Janice take it away both to describe the Transit Service Plan, but also the extensive outreach we do as part of this. So, Janice?
Thank you, Deborah, for the introduction. And again, good evening, Board of Directors. Again, I'm Janice Soriano Ramos. I manage the annual transit service planning processes here at VTA, and I'm very pleased to deliver staff's recommendation for the 2026 plan, which, as you've heard, has come recommended by our committees earlier this month. This is an action item, and your adoption of this plan tonight is the stamp of approval in this process, which will then set us in motion to schedule and bid the service out to our operators, and then implement the service starting on our first sign-up of the following year in January. So looking comprehensively at this plan, you'll see that we've proposed a budget neutral plan that makes only minor updates to the 2025 service plan. With our financial constraints over the next several years, we were really tasked with developing a 2026 plan that strikes the balance between two objectives. One being preserving operational resources and being mindful of the service that we're able to reliably operate today, and the second being minimizing as much impact to riders as much as possible, and really only considering changes that impact as few of them as possible. And although you'll see in the packets and in the next slide that there are a very small amount of changes, they really are substantial enough to keep VTA within budget while continuing to meet our community's needs. In the long term, as a reminder, there are also going to be very sustainable changes that will really set us up for success when we are ready to grow service and when we are ready to carry out in bits and pieces our VTA visionary network that was adopted a couple of years ago. So that said, this 2026 plan is very lean and it proposes 3 changes, and all 3 of these changes only affect bus service. The plan essentially boils down to 3 things: a minor routing change, a route discontinuation, and a frequency change. So first I'll start with the local bus Route 59, the routing change on that route. This is an entirely budget-neutral plan that would improve both local and regional connections, particularly for Valley Medical Center patrons and employees who would now have a 1-seat ride to and from the Santa Clara Transit Center by riding this route. Next, the second proposal is to discontinue the Express Route 121. With low ridership and with the loss of the employer sponsorships on this route to offset the cost, eliminating this route altogether would save VTA over $500,000 a year. And then finally, the last proposal for 2026 is to keep running the 523 at its current 20-minute weekday frequencies. This would save VTA over $2 million annually, and it'll still be of minimal impact to riders. And the good news here to share and to highlight with the 523 is that ridership on this route is very steady, and it's quite productive at its current 20-minute frequency. So even with the minimal changes we've proposed, we've ensured that our message was tailored directly to riders of these routes. We posted bus stop notices on each and every one of the stops of these 3 routes. We held virtual and in-person meetings within reach of these routes, and we also created digital content that explains the rationale behind these changes. So with the 23 outreach events that we held over the 6 weeks, they were incredibly focused, and they still covered a lot of ground, really, and it still resulted in feedback that really assured staff that these proposals still align with riders' priorities over the next couple of years. In addition to gathering inputs from our riders for each and every one of these annual plans, VTA is also required to assess the impacts these service changes have on both our paratransit riders as well as our Title VI protected communities. The equity analysis that you may have seen in your packets indicates that these proposals for 2026 impose no changes to paratransit service, nor do they impose disparate impacts or disproportionate burdens. So put simply, the 2026 plan that you see before you here today would maintain equitable access throughout our entire service network. One quick thing I'll acknowledge is something that our paratransit riders are already very well aware of, is that VTA Access is still playing catch-up with implementing the paratransit service area to align with the 2025 plan. And so that's what's mentioned here on the first bullet of this slide. I do just want to clarify that this 2026 plan that you are contemplating for adoption today would not impact that work. So to close us out here, again, this is an action item, and our recommendation to the board here is to adopt the 2026 service plan. This plan would really allow VTA to deliver fiscally responsible service and be able to continue to support our riders in every way we can, given this fiscally constrained year. Of minor note, we have one last sign-up in October to round out our service adjustments that we've got planned for 2025, and then we'll be well on our way to start the process to implement the 2026 plan over the course of our quarterly sign-ups on the dates that you see on this slide here. So with that, I want to thank you again for your time and for hearing this presentation, and I'm happy to take any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Let's see. We have some public comment in person. First, Daniel Holz, and then Harry Neal. And then we'll go to online comments. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Daniel Holz. You're being given some packets for you to look at that are basically go along with what I'm saying right now. But basically what I want to talk about is the 51 bus. Some context on the 51. It runs from Moffett Field to West Valley College. It's a local bus on hourly frequency. The start and end of the line is a split bus stop at Akron Road at Moffett Field. Back in the day, it actually used to serve many more places at Moffett Field. Who rides the 51? This stop gets relatively high ridership, driven by school use as well as commuters from Mountain View Transit Center, including CMU Silicon Valley, NASA Ames USGS employees, interns. So a couple of things that could improve this. One, a few more stops. If you got one at the main gate, that would eliminate a 4th mile walk for people going through the front. You could also extend it to Bayshore NASA. So feel free to look through the slides. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, do we want to give staff a chance to respond?
Well, I was just going to say, we could take a look at this, and after the presentation, Janice can reach out to you as well and have a discussion with you about that. We actually do look at certain routes and pick ones to take a look at for future studies and focus areas. So thank you for your work on that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was going to be my recommendation as well. Harry, and then we'll go to online.
Hello once again. First of all, thank you for your presentation. When this came to my committee at CAC, I asked about the 523 not changing, and one of the things that the wonderful Janice here said was that unfortunately we don't have enough buses to actually commit to higher frequency on that route. That is something that I would like to see addressed if possible, that we might be able to expand our fleet a little bit, especially as we are currently waiting on 70 new buses from Gillig. I do hope that down the line we can expand our fleet just a little bit to increase that frequency, because the 523 is an extremely, extremely crucial route serving arguably the most important corridor in the county, Stevens Creek. And it is very important that we make sure that such an important corridor has high frequency of service. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Do we have anyone online?
No, Chair, we do not.
Okay. Well, let's close public comment and bring it back. And first, I just also want to briefly address the comment. I'm not sure it'll make sense for this round of updates, but definitely support staff reaching out and having those discussions and appreciate what was presented today. Let's go to Director Kamei.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the staff for their work on the 26 Transit Service Plan and incorporating community input. Not a lot happens on the west side of San Jose in terms of changes in transit, but it straddles both District 1 and District 6 to be able to just add a little bit more so that people can get to Valley Med. So I just want to say how much I appreciate that. And, you know, I'm happy to see that it is expanding. And, you know, I know that tonight there's another possibility where you can just extend a little bit more and provide service even further. So I just want to say thank you. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and accept and adopt the 2026 Transit Service Plan.
Second.
I had Director Mulcahy for the second. Do you have any other comments or questions? Yeah, Director Sell.
I just want to say thanks, staff, for your outreach. I think in our community, our students and our homeless rely on bus service, and staff came out and met with the provide services to our shelter people, and are always open to listening to students and school districts. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will also express my appreciation. Your department always does a great job with this and with the process, and I really appreciate the briefing also of directors leading up to this point so that we knew exactly what we were discussing. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks so much. That item passes. And now we have the last item on our regular agenda, and this is item 8.4, an update on the BSV2 project, and we'll hear from Tom McGuire, Chief Capital Mega Projects Delivery Officer, Sarah Wilson, Construction Director of BSV2, and Erica Rokes, Deputy Director of BSV External Affairs.
Okay, good evening, directors. Tom McGuire, Chief Mega Projects Delivery Officer, with our monthly informational update on progress on the BART project. So we're going to cover a couple of things today before Sarah gets into the construction update and Erica gives us an update on our engagement with stakeholders and communities. I'm going to give a quick recap of the September 11th BSV2 Oversight Committee meeting, where we covered some very important ground regarding the historical conversation about the twin versus single bore, as well as made some progress in our conversations about the long-term cost saving efforts. I want to give you an update on where all the open cost saving efforts were as at the end of that meeting, so that we're ready for next month's BSV Oversight Committee meeting and ultimately the October 17th meeting with the full board. So to start with, recapping the first of our items from the Oversight Committee meeting, we provided the promised update on the twin bore, single bore update to the cost, schedule, and risk impacts of what would happen if we were to go back to a twin bore design. The key findings of this analysis, and I am summarizing what was almost a 30-minute presentation, but the key findings of this analysis were that reverting at this point to a twin bore design would not save us money or time, would, as many of you already know, result in some extensive and very impactful cut and cover construction in the heart of downtown San Jose, and one of the reasons why we chose the single bore to begin with. It would introduce some design and construction risks that would potentially lead to further delays than what the base schedule might show. Based on the discussion we had at the meeting, staff is not intending to do any further analysis of the twin bore and instead continue to advance the cost-saving efforts that we've had underway related to the single bore. You've got some numbers there on the screen. This is showing the gap between the potential just raw costs, not looking at escalation, not looking at markup, over a $600 million gap between the twin bore and the single bore. So that was a major topic of discussion at the September 11th meeting. We also talked about where we were with the broader cost-saving effort on the project, and I'm pleased to say that we continue to make progress in finding ways to reduce our costs to get within our $12.1 billion sources of funding. There are three major issues that remain outstanding at this point, and I want to just let you all know how and when we're going to be addressing those and attacking those. First is the design of our downtown stations. As you know, as this board has given very clear direction that you expect to see iconic architecture in downtown San Jose, you expect to see a really good passenger experience, but we also want to bring the project in on budget. And so Erica and her team continue to do really deep engagement with stakeholders, but also with City of San Jose staff who are central to the planning of the transit-oriented development and the look and feel of the downtown San Jose and Diridon station. So that work will continue throughout September. The second issue is the design and cost and programming of what we call the Newhall Yard, the yard over on the Santa Clara-San Jose border where trains will be maintained and will be stored in between runs. This is a topic that we are engaged in some intense planning and planning more future engagement with BART staff about this. Just had a couple of technical working sessions in the last week that I think are helping us define those program requirements. This is going to take a few months. We're not going to have answers to this at the next committee meeting, but I want you to know that we're deeply engaged with BART in finding a solution to make sure that there's a Newhall yard that meets their operating and safety requirements. Final piece is what we call our configuration. And this is was the biggest topic on the 11th and will likely be the biggest topic at our next committee meeting as well. Configuration means, at a high level, how are we building this tunnel? And we've, after 9 months of looking at questioning every assumption and looking at all different kinds of ways we might shrink the tunnel, redesign the tunnel, build the tunnel in sections, we've reduced the number of plausible configurations that are available to us to 2. One is a configuration in which we build a single 53-foot tunnel from west to east, and another in which we build 2 tunnels concurrently that meet just east of downtown San Jose. We'll be working with the committee to go through the pros and cons of those in detail in October. We'll also have the benefit of the outputs of what we call our peer review. On August 20th, a group of transit professionals, leaders from other transit agencies who have built subways on the West Coast in the last decade and really understand what a challenging construction market we're working in right now, came to San Jose, spent a day with us, advising us, giving feedback to us, giving, frankly, pretty direct feedback and critique to us about the way we were approaching the project. A lot of lessons learned there about how we can structure contracts to be more competitive and get best value for VTA. A lot of lessons about ways in which we can either manage risk or share risk with our private sector partners, as well as feedback about that configuration decision. And we're looking forward to talking about with the committee about that in October, and then with all of you on October 17th. With that, I'm going to hand the microphone to Sarah Wilson, who's going to take us through progress on our construction.
Great. So what we're looking at is some recent photos from the construction site. There's been a lot of activity out there. We have over half of our diaphragm walls have been installed already. We have also referred to these in this room as slurry walls. It's the same thing. It's just a East Coast, West Coast thing, and we have an international construction management team, so we like to use them interchangeably. So there you have it. Diaphragm walls and slurry walls. So on the left, you can see some of the blue cranes. There's excavating cranes, excavation going on, but then the cage that's hanging in the air is a rebar panel about to be lowered into the ground to create the reinforcing for a subsurface wall. And then on the right, you can see before it gets vertical, it's assembled horizontally on the ground. These cages are assembled by iron workers on the ground, and then they're lifted in multiple lifting points. You can see KST takes a very, very safe approach there to lift them vertical and then lower them into the ground. Our special cages are our Y-panel rebar cages because they're so massive. These cages, this particular cage in this series of photos weighs 95 tons, and it's housed inside a steel structure which looks a little bit like a bridge, part of a bridge with some triangular trusses in there. That structure is 62 tons, and they are put together because the tripping frame, which is what the bridge type structure is called, basically serves as a spine for the rebar cage. As it comes from the horizontal position to the vertical position, the tripping frame keeps it all together, basically, in addition to a ton of other things that are happening inside that cage that keep it together. But it makes it so that it doesn't bend, and it's an easier load to control because it is a significant load. It's a heavy load. The crane you're looking at is a very impressive piece of equipment. It's the Liebherr LR 11,000. It took 39 trucks to bring the pieces of that crane to our project site. So that crane is what's lifting those into the ground. And then and then on the right, what you see is the frame separated from the tripping frame itself, but the lifting frame is still attached. So the very top of the tripping frame is actually released once the frame is in the vertical position. The very top stays attached, but the remainder is released from using hydraulics, so that the cage is what's installed in the subsurface wall.
and then concrete is also installed, and then it becomes a reinforced concrete wall. Okay, whoops, I hit it twice, so we'll see what happens. Okay, yep, we're gonna go back. So then, further up the ramp, at the very top of the ramp, what we have for the installation, for the pre-installed walls is sheet piles. Because the sheet piles are complete, now we're able to begin our excavation inside those sheet piles. And so what you're looking at here is lift 1 of the ramp excavation has been removed. It took, I think it's 30, I want to get you the right number. After the excavation, the bracing starts to go in. All of the horizontal bracing you see on the right there has to be installed and preloaded or stressed prior to any further excavation. 373 truckloads of excavated material has been taken out from in this picture that you can see here. And then another view and a bit more progress as well. You may or may not be able to tell one of the horizontal pieces is being installed in this photo. These all have to be stressed, and then 20% of them are instrumented with strain gauges so that we can verify that they're carrying the load they're designed to be carrying for the duration of their service. And then on the right, you can see rebar going in for the beginning of the ramp. That's the very beginning where the equipment will be starting its journey toward the tunnel face at the bottom of the launch structure. That's where our first working slab is being installed for the launch structure. Erica.
All right, good evening. Want to give you an update on the activities we've been doing out and about in the community, as well as with key stakeholders. As Tom mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work downtown with our stakeholders there as it relates to the station design. We've been going to various pop-up events, the Viva Calle event and other events in the area, VTA's strategic plan open house. In addition, we've been meeting with our stakeholders and have hosted an interim community working group meeting on the downtown station in particular a couple of weeks ago, and we have our regular quarterly community working group meetings next week. Also this weekend, we will be at the Parade of Champions event in the city of Santa Clara, and we will be going to City of Santa Clara City Council next week, moved up from the date on the slide, to get approval to amend our construction transportation management plan to do the work that Sarah's been talking about. We have San Jose approval, and we'll be getting the approval from Santa Clara as well.
Okay, and then our final slide, just looking ahead, as Eric has already described, our continuing engagement with stakeholders. I talked about our engagement with BART regarding the new hall yard. As per our commitment to the board, we will do a round of community working group meetings the first week of October, or rather next week, in advance of our October 9th BSV2 Oversight Committee meeting. The agenda for the Oversight Committee meeting will cover a detailed report out on the peer review that I described a minute ago, an update from our Intergovernmental Government Affairs Director, Beverly Green, on our lobbying and intergov strategy for the program, and then a discussion of what I call the path forward, or that large configuration decision we talked about at the beginning, locking into a configuration that we can work with and a foundation for us to build future design, contracting, and financial decision-making. We'll also have a joint committee meeting with our peers and colleagues and our partners at the BART board. That'll take place the very next day on October 10th up at the BART headquarters in Oakland. I know we'll see some of you there. And then finally on October 17th, we've got the board workshop and special meeting at which we'll discuss, again, that topic of the path forward with the full board and look to reach consensus with you about that direction so we can keep moving forward on this great project. With that, we'll look forward to your questions.
Thanks so much. Let's take public comment for this item first. Do we have anyone in person or online?
Yes, Chair, we have 2 hands raised over Zoom. Roland, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
I'm sorry, before we do that, I missed the card. Could we have Harry Neal in person? Then we'll go to Roland and our other commenters.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
Hello once again. First of all, thank you for your presentation, everyone. I do want to, I guess, pick up on one thing that was said in regards to the twin bore design that Cut and Cover would entail significant disruption to our downtown. Yes, that is true. However, I do want to note that I was able to find data on what disruption like that would actually mean for businesses that are in affected areas. This is from the city of San Francisco. In short, I can pass this on to anybody who is interested, but in short, they found that it is not as conclusive as it would seem, and it very much depends on the exact conditions. Some areas experienced a reduction in, they analyzed sales tax revenue. Some areas experienced reductions, others did not.
Thank you. Now we can go to online.
Yes, Chair. And before we begin, I'd like to note for the record that written public comment was submitted and is included in the online packet. Roland, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Now, on Twin Ball versus single ball, the hybrid solution was first introduced by Paki Selfayas 5 years ago with one primary objective: increase competition. I will repeat, increase competition. I personally followed that up a year later with an additional similar alternative between Santa Clara and Diridan. Diridan, we cannot possibly accommodate the forecasted ridership with this single ball platform, let alone a seamless connection with South Caltrain, light rail, airport connector, and everything else. But last but not least, the industry just concurred. A single ball contract is just too big. It needs to be broken up into multiple contracts. And the last comment about, so the solution really is to launch the single ball from Diridan, not from Santa Clara. And I'll follow that up next week.
And our last hand up is Blair Beekman. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when ready.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Thank you for this item and that you took the time to do a report on what the twin bore process could be like at this point. Because you've already been working on this project, it's making the twin bore project a little more difficult to work with. But I think there has to be a real acknowledgement, as I try to offer here, that you created the twin tracks within the single bore side by side and not on top of each other for reasons of safety, I feel. And you don't talk about that enough and how important that is and meaningful and just helpful to the public process. And I think we have to have those conversations. That's why you've done these twin bore reports now, I feel. You're giving up safety a bit. And we have to be okay in talking about that and have those conversations to be safe and clear. I hope we can do that here. Thank you much for the reporting. Thank you.
And there are no more hands raised.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the board for any questions, comments, or discussion. Do we have any? Okay. Not seeing any, so thank you very much for the information and the photos in particular. Pretty incredible. Thank you. And that wraps us up for our open agenda, our main agenda. 9.1 is items of concern referral to administration. And for 9.1, a referral related to the East Ridge to BART Regional Connector was sent to the board earlier today. That document is also available on the agenda portal. While we can't discuss as a board or at length, I will see if Director Candelas has any comments.
Thank you, Chair Lopez. Just wanted to give my appreciation to Vice Chair Mahan, Director Arenas, as well as to you, Chair, and VTA staff for helping putting this referral together, which directs VTA staff to bring a menu of options to the November Board of Directors meeting to support the unanticipated construction impacts on small businesses and residents adjacent to the construction area. This menu of options should include, but is not limited to, a small business assistance fund and must have proactive outreach to business. First of all, I think it's incredible to see the transformation that's taking place on the expressway corridor, given the high ridership and the number that we see folks going to the Eastern Transit Center. There is no doubt about the future of this light rail extension into East San Jose. Unfortunately, we are, as the construction's forges on, we're seeing unanticipated impacts to small businesses, as well as the residents in adjacent neighborhoods to the construction sites. We must act and act with urgency because the public is crying out with their livelihoods at risk. And so for those of us who were around and saw the impacts of the BRT project on the Alum Rock businesses and residents in the area, inconveniences are understood by most. And the loss of business affects the daily life and the livelihoods of our community. And I just, I think it's important to have that thoughtful partnership from our agency because folks remember that. And while I know we have a claims process for businesses and homeowners, we have to do more to support our community and our approach in dealing with this is important. We have to make this with real dollars that make a difference, and I think that's going to be critical for the future of this vibrant corridor, but more importantly for our agency and the credibility of our agency. So that being said, thank you, Chair Lopez, for your support, and I look forward to seeing this next month. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Do we have any other referrals from colleagues? Did you have a comment?
I do have a comment.
Sure.
I just wanted to highlight the need for our small businesses. As a council member, when I knew that I've been sitting on the EBRC committee since 2016, and so I've been anticipating this project for a minute. And in anticipation of that, we know that research shows that transportation infrastructure construction destabilizes small businesses. And so in anticipation of that, I established the Tully Road Business Association and provided grants, and now established as a supervisor the White Road Business Association. And so it really makes sense to me to additionally enhance the small businesses with some kind of supplemental aid in order for them to continue to hang on tight until things get back to normal. I was also witness to some of the destruction of Alum Rock small businesses when construction happened, and so some of those businesses were never able to get stable again. But for those who did, I know benefited from some of the support that was provided, and so hopefully once again we'll see that happen.
Thanks so much. Any other comments on this or any other referrals? Not, we'll go to announcements. Do we have any board member announcements? I just have one that we have a board workshop scheduled for Friday, October 17th at 9 a.m., and that will be held at River Oaks campus. And we conclude our public comment, and we conclude a closed session. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.